Millionaire CEO discovers hidden love on blind date with single MOM. A life-changing journey. Ethan sat at the small table, surrounded by the warm hum of a Chicago diner. The smell of fried food danced through the air, mixing with laughter and chatter. He glanced at his watch, more concerned about how this date was taking away from his business plans than anything else. But then, across the table, Mia smiled, and the world faded. Her eyes sparkled with a light that pulled at something deep inside him. This wasn't just another blind date set up by his mother, this was something different, something real. Lily just finished drawing a picture of a dragon, Mia shared, her voice warm and vibrant. She's convinced it'll fly us to the moon one day. Ethan felt a softness in his chest. He pictured the little girl with wide eyes, believing in magic. It made him realize how far removed he'd become from the wonder of life. The corporate galas, stock market highs, and luxurious lifestyle felt meaningless compared to the fierce love Mia had for her daughter. As they swapped stories, Ethan marveled at her tenacity. She worked 2 jobs, often moving between them like a whirlwind. He was drawn to her laughter, the genuine way she spoke about her hopes. Suddenly, he felt a longing for connection he'd neglected for years in his rapid climb up the corporate ladder. For the first time, he saw success in a different light, not as a trophy, but as something that could enrich lives beyond his own. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet as the night evolved, Ethan felt the tug of his reality. His colleagues, those who usually toasted to his successes, would scoff at a woman who fought to pay bills instead of attending charity galas. The pressure was mounting, and with every laugh he shared with Mia, a fear crept in. Could he really stand against the judgment of his world? When Mia mentioned organizing a fundraiser for struggling families, something inside Ethan cracked open. Her commitment was palpable. The way she talked about supporting her community breathed fresh air into his suffocating existence. But what if he chose to stand by her side? The thought of losing respect in his corporate circles paralyzed him. As they prepared to leave, Mia's phone dinged with an urgent message. With a frown, she glanced down. "It's about Lily's school," she said. The tension in her voice shifted something within Ethan. He knew that her battles were far from over. He wanted to reach out, to tell her that he would be there for her, but doubt surged through him, a storm of identity and loyalty raging internally. Just then, something flickered in her eyes, and he felt an undeniable connection, like they were tethered together by invisible threads. But would their bond survive the truth that loomed just outside their diner sanctuary? Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that an unexpected twist was waiting for them, a test of his newfound feelings. As Mia stood, her expression unreadable now, Ethan knew he was on the edge of a choice. Would he abandon his world for the unpredictable, unfiltered love blossoming before him? The air thickened with anticipation, and the question lingered as they stepped back out into the Chicago night where the possibilities danced like stars, just waiting to be seized. The cold Chicago air brushed against Ethan's face as they stepped outside. He watched as Mia pulled her coat tighter around her. The streetlights painted warm amber hues on the sidewalk, creating a cozy atmosphere that contrasted sharply with Ethan's swirling thoughts. He stood there, frozen, anchored by uncertainty. Mia turned, her eyes searching his, and for a moment, the noise of the city was a distant hum. "Ethan, are you okay?" Her voice sliced through the fog of his confusion. Would he take a step forward into the unknown, or would he retreat to the safety of his familiar yet hollow world? "Yeah, I need a moment." The words felt weak, but so did his resolve. Mia nodded, but he could see the flicker of concern in her eyes. He had only known her in one instant, yet it felt as if she was pulling at some deep longing inside him. "This wasn't what I expected tonight," she said softly, glancing away as if she too struggled to reconcile the connection between them. Me neither, he managed. He glanced at her, trying to parse out the swirl of emotions that bubbled beneath the surface. The rhythm of her life was a symphony of hustle, a far cry from his scripted, well-rehearsed existence. He admired that, and it scared him. As if sensing his turmoil, Mia took a small step toward him. I know you have a busy life, Ethan. If I pushed too hard, if I talked about my struggles too much, he interrupted her with a gentle shake of his head. No, it's not that. It's just everything. He gestured vaguely at the world around them, at his company, his status, and the looming pressure of expectations. Mia's gaze softened. We all have a story, Ethan. Yours might feel bigger in some ways, but that doesn't mean it's more important than anyone else's. Mine is just a little more chaotic. Her laugh, a bubble of warmth in the chilly night, invited him to share in her lightness. Chaotic can be beautiful, you know? He said, a tentative smile creeping onto his face. They began walking down the street, slowly, with each step gnawing at Ethan's internal struggle. Mia's phone buzzed again, breaking the moment. She pulled it out, glanced, and the smile disappeared for a heartbeat. It's the school. I need to check on Lily. There's some trouble with her class. Ethan felt the heaviness of her burdens wrap around his heart. Is everything okay? Yeah, she asked tough, just a little scared. Mia swallowed, her breath hitching as she tried to rein in her emotions. The mask she wore so well cracked just a bit, and he wanted to reach out, to pull her close and tell her it would all be all right. Maybe I could help, he blurted. The words surprised even him. Her gaze snapped to his wide with disbelief. Help? With what? I mean, I appreciate the thought, but you have your own world to manage. An urge to protect and support surged within him, almost primal. I don't mind. I mean, I'm not the monster everyone thinks I am. Mia's laughter rang out, delicate yet full of truth. No, you're not. You're more than that. But a gnawing fear lingered in Ethan's chest. Was he ready to break down the walls guarding his heart? To step into a world drenched in unpredictability, where love was woven into the chaos? As they reached her car, an internal dialogue raged on. Should he take that leap of faith? He glanced at Mia, her expression both hopeful and uncertain. Maybe we could talk more about this, about Lily. Mia straightened, her eyes brightening. I'd love that. That glimmer ignited something within him. But then, the roar of his phone interrupted the moment, filling him with the cruel reminder of his obligations. Just a second, he said, stepping back to answer it. As he spoke, he felt a shadow creeping over his newfound clarity. The voice on the other end was insistent, pulling him back into the whirlwind he had been trying to escape. When he turned back to Mia, she stood leaning against her car, worry shadowing her features. The connection felt fragile, a thin thread between the two of them. Would he unravel it, or allow it to bind him to her world? As he hung up the phone, Ethan knew he was standing at a crossroads. Should he dive deeper into this messy, chaotic life with Mia, or step back towards safety? The answer eluded him, as they stood there under the flickering streetlight, suspended in uncertainty. With the weight of the evening pressing down, he took a breath, ready to make a choice, knowing that both paths held their own challenges. What he didn't realize was that an unexpected twist was looming ahead, ready to change everything not only for him but for Mia and Lily as well. Ethan took a deep breath, the city's chill now abuzz around him as he focused on Mia. She was still leaning against the car, her expression a mix of expectation and hesitation. He felt the weight of the moment, a pivotal junction of fear and potential. Ethan? What is it? She asked, breaking through his reverie. Her eyes searched his face, and he could almost see her heart in them, pulsing with hope and vulnerability. She wanted him to say something, to make a choice. But that word choice clung to him like a heavy cloud. How could he step forward when he felt so lost? Just then, Mia looked away, her phone still gripped in hand, a reminder of responsibilities that would always pull her back. I can't just ignore my duties, she murmured, more to herself than to him. Lily needs me. The urge to grab her hand, to anchor her for a moment, surged again. I understand that, he said softly. But you deserve what, Ethan? she interjected, her frustration breaking the surface. Deserve a fairy tale? That's not how life works. I can't be the distraction you need to escape your world. He flinched at her words, hurt and anger mingling in his chest. That's not what I'm saying. It's just you're so real. So vibrant. Being around you feels like a breath of fresh air. Mia's eyes softened again, the edge of anger dissipating like fog over the lake. And you, Ethan, are like a storm trying to contain itself. You're not just a CEO in a tailored suit. I see a man who craves more. But, he prompted, desperate for clarity. She looked down, fiddling with her keys. But you might not be ready to dive into my world, into chaos and unpredictability. Silence hung thick between them, either willing to break it. The sounds of the city felt sharper now, as if taunting him for his indecision. Maybe you're right, he admitted reluctantly. Maybe I still need time. Mia nodded slowly, though her disappointment hung in the air like a fading star. I don't want to be a burden, Ethan. You have your life, and it's important. He stepped closer, aching to hold her, to show her she wasn't a burden. You could never be a burden to me. The words came out more desperate than he intended. A fleeting smile lit her face, but it faded, replaced by the seriousness of her situation. I have to go tend to Lily, she's scared right now, and she needs me. It's complicated. Maybe I could help with Lily? The suggestion slipped out before he could catch it. Mia's brow furrowed. What would you know about being a parent? You have your own life to manage. I can learn, Ethan insisted, feeling a surge of confidence swell in him. This was his chance, his opportunity to leap, to embrace chaos if it meant getting closer to her. But before she could respond, another buzz from her phone broke the moment. Her expression shifted again, the sweetness of hope replaced by a familiar burden. I really need to answer this. And she hesitated. Maybe we should give each other space. The rejection hit him like ice water. Space? It might be what we need. You're right about our worlds. They're not the same, Ethan. They might never be. Her voice barely above a whisper. But what if I don't want them to be separate? He challenged, yearning for a bridge between them. Mia's eyes glistened with unshed emotion, a storm brewing right behind her strong facade. I don't know if I can allow that kind of complexity in my life right now. Ethan stood frozen, watching her wrestle with the contradiction of wanting connection while fearing its repercussions. As Mia took a step toward her car and turned her back, a sharp pain gripped his heart. Wait, he called out, running a hand through his hair. Just think about it. Mia paused, glancing back, caught in the web of their unbuilt future. What are you saying? I'll wait, he said, softer this time, his vulnerability laid bare. I'll wait for you to find your way back. The silence was heavy, filled with unspoken possibilities. As she got into her car and started the engine, Ethan felt the distance between them widen, a chasm of uncertainty that he couldn't cross, at least. Not tonight. As she drove away, the city lights shimmered against the darkening sky. His phone buzzed again, but this time, he didn't check it. He was left standing on the sidewalk, feeling the crack in their connection. Would he find the courage to break free from his fears, to step into the whirlwind of life with Mia? Or would he remain a spectator, watching as she drove into a future without him? A choice loomed, and the waiting game had only just begun. Ethan stood there while the glow of Mia's taillights vanished into the gathering night, a hollow ache settling in his chest. The city around him buzzed with life, people laughing, cars honking, but he felt like an outsider, a lingering shadow on the periphery of something beautiful that was slipping away. Returning to his car felt heavy with each step. He needed to think, needed to process the whirlwind of emotions swirling in his head. As he sat in the driver's seat, the engine was a mere murmur against the roar of his racing thoughts. Mia's face, the radiant light of her smile, the softness in her eyes, the weight of her words played on repeat in his mind. Did he want to be just a spectator? He couldn't shake the intensity of their moment. There was a spark, an undeniable chemistry, it just felt so real. He could help with Lily, even if it felt daunting and foreign. What if he stepped into chaos? What if he let go of the tight reins of control that governed his life? With a flick of his wrist, he grabbed his phone and scrolled through his contacts. A mixture of names flashed before him, friends, colleagues, even his mother, but his thumb hovered over Mia's number. Should he send a message? Apologize? He hesitated, uncertainty crushing him from within. The distance between them felt insurmountable, a canyon of doubt that grew wider each second. Instead, he decided to drive. The streets twisted through the city like veins, each turn leading him deeper into thought. He couldn't help but replay their conversation, the way she had leaned against her car, the vulnerability spilling from her, and those moments of longing exchanged through fleeting glances. He wanted her in his life, wanted to risk everything to be there for both her and Lily. But how to bridge that gap? He would have to meet her on her terms, embrace the uncertainties to demonstrate that he was willing to step from the rigid walls of his corporate world into hers, even if he had to trip and stumble along the way. As he pulled into his building's garage, a furtive thought crossed his mind. Maybe he could change everything with one gesture, something simple yet profound, a way to show that he meant what he said about waiting for her. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but true connection demanded effort. When he reached his penthouse, the city below sparkled like a million stars. He had always loved this view. It felt empowering, but now, it seemed empty. Pulled by an idea, he retrieved his laptop and began typing passionately. He poured out his fear and admiration into words, a letter that truly captured what he felt. An hour later, Ethan read back what he had written. It was heartfelt, raw. He decided to send it. His finger hovered again over Mia's name, and with a deep breath, he hit send. The sound of a message flying into the unknown was oddly exhilarating yet terrifying. Would she understand? Would she see his sincerity? As he leaned back, a sudden wave of regret washed over him. Had he pushed too hard too soon? Before he could drown in doubt, his phone buzzed, disrupting the silence like a lightning bolt. He seized it, heart racing. Had she responded? It was a message, one that made his breath catch. Ethan, we need to talk. An ominous chill swept through him. What did that mean? Was it good news, or were they about to redefine everything they'd barely begun to build? He stood frozen for a moment, heart throbbing, unsure whether to feel excited or frightened. The journey ahead could shift everything. But somewhere deep inside, a flicker of hope remained intact. What choice would he make next? Ethan stared at the phone, the screen still glowing with Mia's words. We need to talk. It swirled in his mind like a tempest, every implication sending a jolt through him. What had he done? He had taken a leap, sent his heart out into the abyss, and now, this single message left him dizzy with uncertainty. He paced through his penthouse, the rhythm of his footsteps matching the rapid thud of his heart. For a moment, he contemplated not responding, letting the silence stretch between them. Yet that wasn't an option anymore. Not after what they'd shared. He sat back down, the weight of anticipation heavy in the air, fingers poised above the keyboard. He felt a tightness in his throat as he tried to articulate a response. On the screen, his words flickered like his emotions. When and where? Simple, but direct. The clarity of that thought was a balm against the chaos inside him. Just as he was about to hit send, another message pinged, a notification from Mia just seconds after his. Can we meet tomorrow? I'll pick you up at 2? Yes, Ethan replied almost before he could think. The enthusiasm was instant, the will to confront whatever needed clarifying blazed in his chest. Tomorrow would be pivotal. No more lingering in doubt. The night stretched on, fraught with anxious anticipation. He tried to occupy himself by scrolling through news articles and work emails, but his mind was a runaway train, racing through possible scenarios about what Mia might say. Would she be hurt? Angry? Or perhaps, was she longing for what he felt too? Sleep eluded him, and with each hour that passed, he replayed their moments together, the soft laughter, the warmth of her gaze, the way his heart had skipped when she mentioned her daughter. It was through Lily that he could see a glimpse of a world he had never considered, a family, connection, understanding. Morning light finally broke through his windows, washing over him like a new beginning. He dressed carefully, each decision deliberate, as if it could affect the outcome. Would a button-down be too formal? Or perhaps jeans would be too casual? He settled on a tailored look that felt both professional and approachable. When the clock struck 2, he paced by the window, watching the street below for Mia's figure. Each passing car sent a jolt of adrenaline surging through him. Minutes felt like hours until finally, he spotted her. She stepped out of her car, looking radiant, with a sunlit glow that made his breath hitch. Ethan made his way down to meet her. As he stepped into the cool afternoon air, he felt the weight of unspoken words crashing down. The uncertainty swirled around them, but so did an underlying current of hope. Mia, he began, heart pounding, but she raised her hand gently. Simon, let's talk somewhere quieter. The slightly offbeat rhythm added a layer of nervousness to his heart as they walked toward a small cafe nearby. This felt like a test, a crossroads that could redefine their lives. Would there be a path forward, or would it come crashing down? As they settled into a small corner booth, Mia took a deep breath, her expression earnest and vulnerable, eyes glimmering with unspoken fears and hopes. Ethan could sense the importance of what was about to unfold. It felt monumental, like standing on the precipice of change. I guess we should clear the air, Mia began, her voice trembling slightly. Ethan leaned in closer, ready to dive into whatever awaited them. But just when he thought they might tackle everything together, the cafe doors swung open, and a rush of cold air enveloped them. A figure stepped in. Familiar. Unwelcome. Ethan's pulse quickened as he registered who it was, a face from his past, someone he never thought would intrude on this moment. What are you doing here? He muttered, caught completely off guard. The tension in the air thickened, and he felt the fragile hope of that conversation slip through his fingers like sand. What would happen next? Would the unexpected stay and complicate everything, or would it reveal something new? Ethan's mind raced. He stared at the figure who had just walked in, his body tense, as though it were preparing for defense. The unexpected sight of Gabby, his ex, was like a cold shower, awakening a flood of buried memories and unresolved emotions. Mia, he began, but the words hung in the air, stifled by the looming presence of his past. Gabby's eyes swept across the cafe, eventually landing on him, and it felt like a spotlight had turned on, pinning him in place. A rush of anger, confusion, and dread surged up. He hadn't wanted this moment to be complicated. Ethan, she called out, her voice dripping with a mix of surprise and calculated charm. There was a time when her voice had ignited a spark in him, but now it felt like a weight, dragging him down. What are you doing here? He repeated, a touch sharper this time, surprised at how defensive he sounded. His eyes shot to Mia, whose expression reflected her own tension, confusion knitting her brows together. Gabby smirked, a playful glimmer in her eye, as if she were a spider weaving her web. I didn't expect to see you. I'm just grabbing coffee with a friend. She gestured dismissively, but her eyes narrowed at Mia, sizing her up. Ethan felt a protective instinct bubble up inside of him. He moved on. He had someone real now. This is Mia, he said, his voice steady, though inside he was simmering. Nice to meet you, Mia offered, her tone cautious. Gabby's gaze flickered back to Ethan, a sly smile spreading across her lips, suggesting she knew more than she was letting on. Ethan has told me so much about you, Gabby continued, her tone laced with teasing malice. His heart raced as the cafe seemed to shrink around them. What are you really doing here, Gabby? He pressed, forcing calm into his voice. I told you. Just grabbing coffee. But hey, don't let me interrupt your little reunion. She leaned casually against the cafe counter, like it was all a game. Mia placed a hand on Ethan's arm, grounding him. Maybe we should just go, she suggested softly, concern threading through her voice. No, he said firmly, a wave of determination washing over him. I'm not letting her do this. Do what, Ethan? Care about your life? Gabby shot back, her eyes dancing with mischief. I just came to see how you were holding up since you know everything. Ethan clenched his jaw. Everything. The word hung heavy with regret and heartbreak, flashing back to hurtful memories he wanted to forget. I'm fine, he muttered, drawing strength from Mia's presence beside him. Right. Fine, happy, living your best life. Is that why you're here with this? What is she, your new girlfriend? Gabby tilted her head, a smirk still plastered on her face as she examined Mia. Her eyes laughed at Ethan's discomfort, and he felt the urge to sweep Mia out of the cafe, back into his carefully crafted world where she belonged, away from all this chaos. Enough, Gabby, he said, his voice low but firm. He looked at Mia, who was watching the exchange with guarded eyes, a hint of hurt flickering in her gaze. He couldn't let this moment fracture what they had. Ethan, Mia whispered, squeezing his arm. Listen, I know you're not in the market for drama, but it seems to follow you. Gabby cut back, enjoying the tension crackling between them. He felt trapped, like every unmade choice had led him back to this moment. The air thickened with unspoken words, and the walls of the cafe expanded and contracted, echoing his heartbeat. He needed to make this right, to push through the haze of his past without letting it poison this chance with Mia. Let us go, he finally said, taking a deep breath, steadying himself against the absurdity of the situation. He could feel Mia tense beside him, her eyes scanning his expression for reassurance. Not so fast, Gabby said, stepping closer, her tone almost taunting. You really think you can just leave with her? Watch me, Ethan shot back. His voice held an edge he didn't recognize. Mia looked at him, a mixture of admiration and fear passing through her eyes. Would she still want this after all of this chaos? But as they turned to leave the cafe, Ethan felt a strange sense of hope blooming despite the unfolding drama. He had to believe that the past couldn't dictate his future any longer, and he couldn't let Gabby haunt his decisions. Just as they reached for the door, he glanced back one last time, daring her to disrupt what he was finally about to embrace. Ethan, wait, Mia said, pulling him back slightly. What? He asked, breathless, uncertain. I need to know. Are we still okay? His heart pounded in his chest, the question hanging heavy between them, waiting for an answer. Could he truly let go of the past and build something beautiful with her? Ethan stared into Mia's eyes, the weight of her question pressing against his chest like an anchor. He could feel the kaleidoscope of emotions swirling around him: hope, fear, and a flicker of determination fought for dominance. We are, if you want us to be, he said finally, his voice steadying as he wanted to convey his feelings. But as the words left his lips, a shadow of doubt passed over her face, hidden behind a brave smile. Everything feels so complicated right now, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The cafe buzzed around them, but within their bubble, time slowed, and the world faded into echoes. Gabby's laughter cut through the air abruptly. Oh, how sweet! But let us be real, Ethan. You think you can walk away from me and just erase the history we have? This isn't a fairy tale, she chimed in, her tone dripping with mockery. Ethan clenched his jaw, anger bubbling beneath the surface once more. We're not playing games anymore, Gabby. I'm done with the past. Gabby's eyes narrowed, and for a second he felt the girl he once loved surge to the surface, but it was too late. The memories were tainted now, marred by all the pain and distrust. He turned back to Mia, her gaze flickering with uncertainty. I'm here, Ethan. I want to be with you, but she started, her voice trailing off, emotions threatening to spill over. He reached out, taking her hand in his. It felt warm and reassuring, grounding him in a moment that somehow felt more real amidst the chaos. Let us leave together. Just you and me. We can figure this out. I promise I won't let her ruin this for us. His heart raced as he watched her expression shift. The fear in her eyes began to fade, replaced by a spark of trust. Okay, she murmured, her resolve strengthening as she held his gaze. Good, he replied, relief washing over him. But just as he turned towards the exit, Gabby stepped in their path again, an unyielding barrier, the embodiment of Ethan's past. Where do you think you're going? She taunted, arms crossed. You can't just walk out of here like I don't exist. You owe me that much. Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but the swirling emotions began to resurface. I don't owe you anything anymore, Gabby. It's over. You've made that clear. Is it? She shot back, her voice rising. We have unfinished business, Ethan. You can't just pretend I didn't mean anything to you. With every word, he felt the tension rise, the air thickening with unresolved emotions. Gabby knew how to push his buttons, how to tap into the tangled web of their history. Mia tugged gently at his hand. Ethan, please. Her voice brought him back to her, to the present, reminding him of what they stood to lose. Let us go, he said firmly, pulling Mia closer to him as they maneuvered around Gabby. It wasn't about erasing the past, it was about standing firmly in his choice. As they finally stepped outside into the cool breeze, Ethan let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. He glanced back at the cafe, a sense of finality washing over him. There was no turning back now. Are we okay? Mia asked again once they were a safe distance away, her voice softer, filled with uncertainty. I don't want to be the rebound. He stopped and turned to her, searching for the right words. You're not. You're. His voice trailed off as he reached for her other hand, encasing them both in his. Every fiber of his being screamed that Mia was worth the risk. You're everything to me, Mia. I just got caught off guard. Her eyes brightened, but a hint of worry still lingered. Just as Ethan opened his mouth to speak again, her phone buzzed. She pulled it from her pocket and glanced at the screen. Ethan watched her expression change, confusion racing across her face. It's a number I don't recognize. Maybe it's nothing, he said, instinctively sliding closer, an ember of unease flickering to life within him. Just the wrong number. But as Mia hesitated for a moment, he felt the atmosphere shift yet again. She looked at him, a mixture of fear and curiosity clouding her eyes. What if it's important? She asked, always the pragmatist. And at that moment, Ethan understood. Their journey might have just begun, but the past had a way of lurking just around the corner. Answer it, he encouraged, heart pounding. Without being able to shake the feeling that something was about to change again, she took a deep breath and pressed the answer button. What now? Mia lifted the phone to her ear, hesitating as the line connected. A muted static buzz before a voice she didn't recognize broke through. Ethan's heart raced as he watched her face. Every subtle shift, her frown, the way she chewed on her lip, the way her brow furrowed made him feel helpless. Hello? Mia said cautiously. Ethan leaned closer, trying to hear what the other person was saying, but the words were muffled. As she gripped the phone tighter, he could sense the tension in her. The carefree moments they just had shattered, replaced by a growing sense of dread. Mia? The voice on the other end sounded urgent, and Ethan caught the way her eyes widened, her breath hitching. Who is this? She replied, her voice a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. It's Mary. I know this is sudden, but it's about your mother. Ethan felt the air get thick. Mia's mom? That couldn't be good. He could see her face blanch, her smile from earlier washed away completely. What happened? Is she okay? The panic in Mia's voice tugged at Ethan's heart. He wanted to take the phone away from her and shield her from whatever this was. Instead, he put his hand on her shoulder, a silent gesture of support, wishing he could absorb her anxiety. She's in the hospital. It's serious, Mia. It felt like the ground dropped beneath them. Mia swayed slightly, and Ethan steadied her, understanding that the world had shifted from a beautiful moment to a nightmare in mere seconds. Hospital? Serious? Mia, he said softly. She looked at him, eyes wide and shimmering with unshed tears. I'm going with you, he murmured. No, she whispered, shaking her head. I need to do this alone. Her words stung, but he'd be lying if he didn't understand. This was her family, her pain. But the thought of being left out of her moment of need made his chest ache. Mia, please, Ethan, just let me go. Her voice wavered, but the determination gleamed in her eyes. This was not just about her, but the darkness that was creeping into her life. She needed to be with her mom. He stepped back reluctantly but felt like he was being torn in two. I can't just stand by while you his voice faltered as he searched for words that wouldn't sound hollow. I'll text you, she promised, but even to her ears, it sounded like a fragile comfort. As she walked away, Ethan felt his skin prickle with uncertainty. He watched her move through the bustling streets, the chaos around her muffled as if he was submerged underwater. Her figure became smaller and smaller, swallowed by the unknown. Phone still pressed to her ear, Mia glanced back at him one last time, her eyes reflecting a mixture of hope and fear. It broke him to see her like that, but he knew he had to respect her choice, even if it felt like a storm was brewing within his heart. Watching her disappear from view, he made his own decision. He couldn't stand still. He had to know more. If Mia was in this deep, he needed to find out what was going on. Pulling his phone out, he dialed Mia's number. It rang a couple of times before she picked up, breathless. Ethan? Where are you going? What hospital? She paused, hesitating. Why does it matter? Because I'm coming with you. I've got your back, Mia. Always. What if I don't want you to? The question cut through him like a knife, but he wasn't backing down. It's not about what you want. It's about what you need. I want to let you face this alone. For a long moment, silence hung between them. He felt her uncertainty tug at his own fears, but he wasn't ready to let go of that connection. Not now, not ever. Okay, she finally whispered, and a glimmer of relief surged through him despite the chaos threatening to unfold. Tell me where. In the quiet aftermath, he heard her take a deep breath. The City General. Room 302, she replied, a blend of gratitude and resignation in her tone. On my way. As he raced towards his car, adrenaline surged through him. He would be there for her, no matter what awaited them. But as he sped through the city streets, a notion flickered in the back of his mind. What? Secrets lay waiting at the hospital? And was Mia ready to face them together? The City General loomed ahead, a gray monolith against the blue sky. Ethan felt his pulse quicken as he parked and hurried towards the entrance. The air was thick with a hospital smell, sterile yet suffocating, and it made him acutely aware of the weight on his shoulders. The tension between Mia and him still hung heavily in his mind. Inside, lights flickered overhead as he descended the stark white corridors. Each step seemed to echo his growing anxiety. What had Mia's mother gone through? The thought churned in his stomach like a storm, and he couldn't shake the feeling of dread. Room 302. He found the door marked with a number. For a brief moment, he paused outside, heart hammering against his chest. He had no clue what awaited him in there. Would Mia's mother be conscious? Would they share tears, or was there something even worse waiting on the other side? Taking a deep breath, he pushed the door open. The room was dim, the curtains drawn, giving it a somber feel. The beeping of machines was rhythmic, a pulse of life interspersed with the soft murmur of conversation. Mia stood by the bedside, her small figure hunched over. Ethan could barely make out the outline of a woman in the bed, frail and surrounded by wires and tubes. It looked like she was sleeping, but that wasn't a peaceful slumber. The sound of labored breathing filled the space, creating an urgency he couldn't ignore. Mia, he called softly, stepping inside. She turned, her eyes wide and filled with unspoken words. They sparkled with fear, brimming with so many emotions that Ethan could barely decipher them all. I didn't want you to see this, she whispered, her voice trembling. He moved closer, instinctively reaching for her hand. You don't have to go through this alone. I'm here. She gazed at him, searching for understanding and finding it. I don't know if I can do this. I'll be right here with you, he reassured her. Mia took a deep breath, pushing the emotions back just enough to stand tall. Thank you for coming. Then, a noise distracted them. The hospital staff entered, a nurse and a doctor, an air of urgency following them. Ethan stepped back, instinctively releasing her hand. Mia watched, a raw agony crossing her face, fear spilling over as her mother stirred in her sleep. Is she going to be okay? Mia's voice shook, and Ethan hated the worry etched into her features. The doctor maintained a professional demeanor, but there was concern in his eyes as he studied the machines. "We're doing everything we can. We will need to run a few tests." Mia's face paled at the word. Tests. There was no good news attached to that. As she turned away, he could see the walls closing in on her. "Mia," he said, stepping closer again. "You need to stay strong. For her, and for yourself." Tears brimmed in her eyes, and for a fleeting moment, Ethan wished he could take the pain from her. He opened his mouth to say more, but a sob broke free from Mia. It was raw, filled with heartbreak and fear. He wrapped his arms around her, feeling the heat of her sorrow seep into his skin. She leaned into him, letting go for just a moment. "I'm so scared," she whispered. "What if don't think that way," he whispered back, his voice steady. "Focus on the here and now." As the nurse started her barrage of questions, the world outside faded. Ethan squeezed Mia's shoulder, grounding her in that small moment of intimacy. It was vulnerability, but it was also defiance. Suddenly, a piercing beeping erupted from the machines. Panic surged in the air, and both Mia and Ethan whipped their heads towards the source. "What is happening?" Mia gasped, eyes wide with horror. As the medical team rushed to respond, Ethan held Mia tight, wishing he could both shield her from this moment and pull her through it. At that moment, he realized that their experience together was about to change. Whatever was about to unfold would shake the very foundations of their lives. Would they emerge stronger through the chaos, or broken by its weight? Just as the doctor called for reinforcements, Ethan felt the question linger, heavy in the air. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: their lives would never be the same again. Ethan held Mia tightly, the world around them fading into a blur as panic unfurled. The beeping machine screamed alarms that reverberated inside him, and the tension in the room suddenly felt like a physical force, suffocating in its intensity. "Mia," he whispered, forcing her to focus through the chaos. "Stay with me. Breathe." Tears streamed down her cheeks, and he felt them against his shirt as she clung to him. Each sob struck him like a hammer, breaking pieces of the world they had begun to build. The medical team flooded the room, their movements swift and practiced. He watched as they took control, moving Mia's mother with urgency. Shadows of doubt crept into Ethan's mind. Was this the moment everything crumbled? "Don't look away," he urged Mia, as her instinct was to turn inward, burying herself in the deep pit of fear. "Look at me. Right here, right now. You can get through this." She nodded weakly, her eyes finding strength in his steady gaze. In that moment, all the complexities of their world faded, the judgments, the expectations, the past, and it was just them, locked in a moment that felt both fragile and fierce. The doctor spoke, words flowing over their heads with a wave of professional assurance. Ethan strained to catch every detail, every reassurance. He would not let this moment escape them. This wasn't just about Mia's mother. It was the defining moment that would shape their intertwined lives. Minutes crawled by as they monitored and worked, and Ethan and Mia remained close, allowing their hearts to connect through the shadows of fear. Suddenly, a nurse emerged, and the tension hung thick in the air. "She is stable for now," the nurse said, relief marking her features. "We need to run more tests, but we're doing everything we can. You can stay here with her." Mia's breath caught. "Thank you," she whispered, feeling a flicker of hope illuminate the dark corners of her heart. But Ethan's attention shifted. The reassurance they needed wasn't just for her mother, it was for Mia too. As the bustle of care continued, he pulled her aside, finding a small, quiet corner in the stark room. With a gentle touch, he cradled her face in his hands, forcing her to meet him eye to eye. "Mia, we are in this together. You're not alone. No matter what," he declared, adamant. Her eyes glistened, a turmoil of gratitude and worry swirling in their depths. "But what if this changes everything?" "It will change things." He nodded, his voice unwavering. "But we will face it. Together." Mia's heart swelled, feeling the warmth of his words wrap around her like a safety blanket. He reached out, holding her hand tightly, anchoring her in reality. Don't pull away from me. You need to lean on someone now more than ever, he insisted softly, not willing to let the weight of grief crush them. As the doctor re-entered, Mia stiffened and they both turned their attention to him. We'll need to discuss some options. Unfortunately, the path from here might be complicated. Ethan felt Mia squeeze his hand tightly, grounding herself in his presence. What does that mean? She asked, voice shaky but tinged with determination. The doctor explained her mother's condition with solid honesty. There were complications ahead, but they had the tools and hope to navigate through. Mia stood tall, listening intently, her heart pounding but no longer just from fear. There was a burgeoning strength within her. When the doctor finished, Mia turned to Ethan. It's going to be hard, she said softly, the reality of the situation sinking. I know, he replied, searching her gaze with sincerity. But we can face it together. You have me. We're not just two people on opposite sides anymore, we're on the same team. A full-fledged smile began to form, ignited by the flicker of confidence in his unwavering support. It was contagious, breaking through the heaviness that had surrounded them only moments before. Ethan leaned closer, feeling the electric tension dwindle. Let us do this. Whatever it is, we got this. They stood hand in hand, the chaos of the sterile hospital room filled with surgeries and waiting becoming an echo as their connection solidified into something undeniably real. Days turned into weeks, and the battle for Mia's mother's health became a shared journey. Together they endured the ups and downs, the laughter and tears, and in those moments bound by uncertainty, something beautiful took shape. Mia blossomed into a warrior, her fierce heart showing through each round of treatments, every battle she faced becoming a stitch in the fabric of their growing bond. And in turn, Ethan learned the power of love, a love that demanded presence, vulnerability, and joy amid chaos. Walking out of the hospital one evening, Mia beamed as they strolled hand in hand. You know, I thought I'd have to do this alone, she said, leaning against him. You realize you have a whole army now, right? It's more than just us, Ethan replied, glancing over at their small yet mighty support system, friends that had gathered and shared their strength. Mia laughed lightly, feeling the warmth spread through her heart, illuminating even the darkest corners. He wasn't just a CEO caught in a fast-paced life, he was a man who had stepped forward into chaos and embraced it wholeheartedly. Together, we'll build something better, I promise. At that moment, as the sun set over the horizon, Ethan felt an overwhelming clarity settle over him. He had faced his fears, met the challenges head-on, and in doing so, had found the greatest treasure of all: love, connection, and family. Always together, he whispered, a truth that resonated deeply in both their hearts, setting the stage for a lifetime of moments yet to come. In that thread of uncertainty, a radiant future illuminated before them, and they were ready to seize it together, one step at a time. Now, if you found inspiration in this story, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Don't wait not even one more second to share this transformative journey. Liking this video helps feed the algorithm and shows your support, and you know it's important. Comment down below your reactions and feelings about the ending. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. What are your thoughts?